On Christmas Day, my mother looked up from the head of the table I bought, in the house I pay for, surrounded by 26 relatives eating food I had ordered and charged to my Visa the night before, and said with a long, theatrical sigh, "I just don't understand why you're so cold, Naomi. Your brother actually feels things. He cares about this family. You've always been like a stranger who just passes through." That was the whole sentence. That was the one that cracked open something I had been holding shut for 12 years. I am RCMP Corporal Naomi Carver. I've been stationed in Fort St. John, northern British Columbia, for the past 4 years. Before that, 2 years in the Yukon. Before that, a posting in Inuvik, up above the 60th parallel, where January temperatures drop to -40 and daylight lasts so few hours you start counting it by the minute. I did all of that willingly. I told myself I was doing it for the work, and for my future, and yes, for my family too. Every Northern Living Allowance check, every overtime deposit, every federal isolation bonus, I wired it straight into an account my mother and I shared. She was supposed to use it toward the mortgage on the Surrey house I co-signed at 26, when I was fresh out of depot division, and naive enough to believe that sharing a mortgage meant we were building something together. I did not cry at the Christmas table. I didn't raise my voice or make a scene. I set my fork down carefully, folded my napkin, and said, "All right, Merry Christmas, everyone." I pushed back my chair, picked up my truck keys from the hook by the front door, the keys to the F-150 registered in my name, insured in my name, paid for entirely with 11 months of Northern allowance, and I walked past my brother on my way out. He had already started reaching for those keys. He always did that, reached for things with my name on them like they were naturally available to him. I closed my fingers around the keyring first. He looked at me. I looked at him. I walked out and pulled the door shut behind me. I was 20 minutes down the highway when his first text came through. "Bring the truck back. Mom needs it tomorrow." I read it at a red light. 8 minutes later, I'm calling the police. "You removed a vehicle from this household without permission." I typed back 2 words, "Go right ahead." Then I put the phone face down on the passenger seat. 40 minutes after that, my mother called, not to apologize. She called to report, breathlessly, that 2 RCMP cruisers had responded to my brother's call, and that things were, in her words, getting complicated. She meant for me. She was wrong about that. I drove through the dark without music. The highway lights arsed overhead every 100 meters, and I let the rhythm of them do something to my nervous system. Slow it down, steady it. The way we're trained to use repetitive sensory input to regulate during high-stress incidents. I thought about the past 12 years. Not in the abstract. Concretely. The $1,400 I wired in February 2019 when my brother said the lease on his shared workspace downtown was overdue. The $3,000 I sent in March 2021 when my mother called about an emergency heating repair. I never saw a receipt for either. I thought about the supplementary card I'd added my mother to on my RBC account. Strictly for groceries and household costs, I had told her, and I had put it in writing. I remembered seeing a charge from Nordstrom in November. When I asked, she said it was a gift for my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law has never sent me a thank you message, a birthday text, or acknowledged a single thing I have done for this family in 12 years of doing it. I thought about last Easter, when my sister-in-law walked through the Surrey living room, the living room of the house I have never actually lived in, because I have always been posted somewhere north, and announced to my cousins that she was planning to knock out the east-facing wall to extend the dining room. "We've been planning this renovation for ages," she told them. "It'll really open up the whole main floor." When my cousin asked whose house it was, my sister-in-law waved her hand. "Orr's family." I had been standing in the kitchen doorway holding a mug of coffee I'd made in a kitchen I owned. I said nothing. I stood there, and I said absolutely nothing. The silence in the truck pressed down on me like something with real weight. I had been carrying it for over a decade without properly naming it. That night, I named it very clearly. I was not a daughter to my family. I was a funding mechanism, a direct deposit with occasional FaceTime. I pulled into a Tim Hortons off the highway and sat in the cold for a few minutes. Just sat there. Then I drove the rest of the way to my hotel and went to bed. At 2 in the morning, my phone rang. Unknown local number. I answered immediately. 12 years of overnight shifts makes you that way. "Is this Naomi Carver?" A dispatcher's voice, measured and flat. "It is," I said. I was already on my feet. "Ma'am, we've received a stolen vehicle report. The complainant is identifying a 2022 Ford F-150. She read out my plate number, as removed from a residential property in Surrey earlier this evening. The vehicle is being described as belonging to the complainant." I sat down on the edge of the bed. "I'm RCMP Corporal Naomi Carver," I said. "The truck in question is registered in my name, insured in my name, and has been in my sole possession since I purchased it in March of this year. I can send you the registration, the insurance documents, and the bill of sale from the dealership in under 5 minutes. What's the best email to use? She gave me the address. I sent 4 documents. The response came back inside 10 minutes. The file was under review. My brother's name was now flagged in connection with a potential false police report and mischief complaint. I lay back on the hotel pillow and stared at the ceiling. 12 years, that's what it came to. By 8 the next morning, I was at the Surrey RCMP detachment, speaking with the watch commander. By 9, my brother was looking at a formal summons. But the false report was actually the smaller problem. The bigger one was waiting for me in a phone call from Staff Sergeant Wilder, my administrative supervisor from my early northern posting, the closest thing I had to a mentor in this organization. He had flagged something unusual in a routine credit check connected to my file. A cosign line of credit at a TD branch in Burnaby. I had not signed any line of credit in Burnaby. There may be a forgery issue here, Naomi, Wilder said. You need to get in front of this before it reaches your security clearance. I called RBC from the detachment parking lot. 15 years as a customer, priority line, account number memorized. I asked for a complete transaction history on every supplementary card attached to my accounts for the past 3 years. 40 minutes later, I was looking at a PDF on my phone that made my jaw lock tight. The card I'd given my mother for groceries had charges at a wine subscription service, a spa in the Fraser Valley, a golf pro shop, 2 furniture stores, and a kitchen renovation showroom. My brother's name was on delivery signatures. His initials appeared on 3 receipt uploads in my online account portal. The total across 31 months was over $19,000. $19,000 on a card I handed my mother with written terms of use. I thought about a specific night 3 winters ago, -26 outside. A welfare check had gone sideways, and I'd cut my palm on broken window glass. I'd patched it myself, driven back to the detachment, filed incident reports until 2 in the morning, then transferred $1,400 to my mother because she said the house needed a new water heater. I remembered that night with complete precision. My brother's golf pro shop charge was timestamped 6 days after that transfer. I called the bank back. I need every supplementary card on my account deactivated, I said. All of them, effective immediately. She read back each card number. I confirmed each deactivation. Somewhere in Surrey, my mother's card went dark at a grocery checkout. My sister-in-law's gas card went dark. My brother's card, the one he apparently carried without my knowledge, went dark at whatever register he was standing at. I then called a property lawyer referred to me by a colleague. She was direct and efficient. She pulled up BC land title records while we were still on the phone, confirmed my name as sole registered owner of the Surrey property, and told me she could have a notice to vacate ready within 48 hours. I said, please do that. She did. My mother received it on December 27th, 30 days to vacate the property. That evening, my cousin called to tell me I was destroying the family. I listened for about 40 seconds. Then I said, if you feel that strongly, you're welcome to have them move in with you. I'll even help them pack. There was a long silence. Then she remembered something she had to check on and got off the phone. My brother showed up at my hotel 2 days before New Year's. I don't know how he got the address, probably from my mother, who probably got it through one of my cousins. He knocked at 10 at night. He wasn't wearing his usual startup founder presentation, the slim fit blazer, the tech company t-shirt. He was in a hoodie. His face looked different, hollowed out. I opened the door and leaned against the frame. I didn't invite him in. He told me I was being cruel. He said I didn't understand what it was like to be him. He told me that everything he did, every role he played, every dollar he spent, was just him trying to keep up with a sister who made the rest of the family feel invisible without even meaning to. I let him talk. Then he started crying, not politely. The kind of crying that bends a person forward at the waist, the kind that has no performance in it at all. He sat down on the floor of the hotel hallway, right there on the carpet, and said through it, "You send money, and then you disappear back up north, and I'm the one left here, and I'm nothing. I'm 42 years old, and I am genuinely nothing. I needed people to think I was something. I needed it so badly I stopped caring where the money came from." I stood in the doorway and felt the old pull, the reflex I had spent 12 years acting on, the reach for my wallet, the impulse to smooth it over, to fix it, to absorb the cost of someone else's pain so they didn't have to sit with it. I kept my hands still. I waited until he was quiet. Then I said, "I'll cover your first month's rent on a place of your own, 1 month. After that you find work, trades, laborer, anything that pays an honest hourly rate. There are apprenticeship programs, there are employment centers, 1 month, and then it's yours to figure out." He looked up at me from the floor. "You can't build a life on borrowed weight," I said. "I know because I watched it collapse." I closed the door. My mother moved into a one-bedroom rental in Langley in late January. She had her CPP, she had her old age security, she had a small workplace pension from the hospital where she'd worked for 20 years before she retired. It wasn't expansive, but it was hers, genuinely hers, and there was no one inflating it with money that had come from my midnight shifts and -30 welfare checks and years of choosing service postings that kept me far from anything resembling a personal life. My sister-in-law left my brother in February. I was not surprised. The last time I saw my mother before spring was a Sunday afternoon in March. I brought a grocery bag, coffee, a box of PC cookies she's always liked, some clementines. She didn't apologize. She didn't say she was proud of me. She didn't say much of anything. But she made room on the counter for the bag, and she filled the kettle, and she didn't say anything sharp or pointed or weighted the way her words used to be. We drank tea at her small kitchen table and looked out at the parking lot. It was quiet between us, but not hostile. Just quiet. That was enough. It was more than I'd had in 12 years of wiring money home. My brother called me in April. Short call, a lot of silences. He was 3 months into a job with a concrete forming company in the Lower Mainland. He said his back hurt. He said it was the hardest work he'd ever done. He said he was going to keep doing it. I told him that was good. He said he thought so too. I drove back to Fort St. John that same week. The Rockies were still carrying snow on the upper slopes, and the sky was the particular deep blue that only happens in early spring at that elevation. I drove with the radio on low and the window cracked an inch, and I thought about what it costs to be the person a family points at whenever they need something, and what it costs to stop being that person, and which of those two costs a person can actually survive long term. What I know now, that I could not have told you a year ago, is that you cannot love someone into becoming who they need to be. You can only stop standing in the way of what happens when they finally have to figure it out without you. I've been sleeping through the night since Christmas. First time in a long time.